I feel like this country is a hidden gem and I don't want too many people to know about it.
Meet Kevin. He is an American who moved to Serbia 3 years ago after living for a while in Cambodia. Here he works remotely in IT and sometimes teaches martial arts as a hobby.
This is my gym.
He shared how it feels to be an American in Serbia.
I've never had meat that tasted that good in my life.
What the biggest mistake foreigners make in Serbia is,
don't put your hands on people.
And why he wants to become a Serbian citizen.
All the things that I want out of life, I've got most of them right now.
Enjoy!
I wasn't sure what it would be like being an American here because my country's government did the bombings in the '99, and yet I've never had a problem with that in my life. You know, it's always, oh, where are you from? And when I say America, they go, oh, really? It's always a positive thing. I appreciate that everybody knows the difference between a citizen and that person's government. You know, wherever I go, Serbians always want to show the best of their country, and there's a lot of the best to show and to offer. Most of their directness is always positive. I just don't have problems with people here. The Serbian attitude is A, very welcoming, and B, they're proud of what they have and they're proud of what they do. In fact, I have Serbian friends who, like, we joke about the fact that, like, Serbians treat foreigners better than they treat other Serbians, and they always want to show the best. Just being a foreigner, I think it's actually really easy. You can make friends with Serbians, you can make friends with other foreigners. I hear especially for Belgrade, but I think the country in general, it just is an international hub. A stranger will invite you to Slava, you know, in one conversation. Just be positive. Just put yourself out there and you will find people.
Have you witnessed Slava?
I have.
Yeah.
I have.
What
yes.
are your impressions?
It is everything that people who dream of a traditional culture dream of. One of our good friends who's a physiotherapist, he invited us to his parents' house. So we get to go into the small village, we get to see the old house. You know, his mom has been cooking since the morning and it's already afternoon. Then we light the fire. There's more meat than anyone can ever put in their stomach. And then after all of that, it's like, you know, like, no, here's the soup. Now here's the meat. Now here's the dessert. Now here's the other dessert. No, you don't get to say no. Here's another one. It was an all-day affair. And then even after you're done eating, you can't just go home because you're just in a food coma. But it's also nice because then you just get to sit and listen to music and just chill out for a day. It's an all-day experience and it's a beautiful one.
How is your Serbian now? Do you learn it?
Imam malo srpski, može da pričam, ali nije dobar.
Pričaš dobro.
Hvala. There's a supplement store that I go to all the time called Expat. Love them. Totally recommend. They pretty much always have what I'm looking for. If it's in the country, they have it. And the guys there are super, super friendly. Even though everybody there does speak English, there's at least one guy there who, he always talks to me in Serbian. And like, I'm at a point now where he's sort of my challenge. Like when I go to a piazza, I can do all the Serbian I need for shopping. You know, with him, it's like my little like intermediate challenge. How much can I do? I was actually there this morning, again, just in pure Serbian. He's just telling me, oh, you're speaking very good today. Thank you.
I think the best feature from Serbs is that they're very supportive when you are trying to speak their language.
Yeah,
so even if you're speaking very badly, if your Serbian is very broken,
pričaš
dobro, pričaš odlično, svaka čast.
Da.
This is very supportive thing, and it's like they like pushing you in a gentle way to learn it.
That's a huge difference between being in Asia, or let's say Cambodia specifically, and being here. I really tried to learn Khmer. It is a brutally difficult language. Even when I was certain that I was speaking the words properly and correctly and with the accent, so many shop owners just stare at me like, what are you saying? And it's disheartening. So yeah, I like here how I can have 2 sentences of Serbian and they're just like, awesome, Rakija.
Do you like Rakija?
I don't really drink alcohol anymore, but I will do it with for socially. So, you know, a shot here and there is fine, живоли. One of the things I do like is that everyone's family has the best recipe for Rakija. So I've gotten to taste the best Rakija, the 50 of the best Rakijas.
Yeah, it's really very interesting because they have this culture of homemade rakia. The best rakia is the homemade rakia.
It
not,
really
not
is.
the rakia that you can buy in supermarket.
Honestly, this is something that I didn't know until I got here, so it's a pure fortune. I love how much of that is in Serbia everywhere. I buy homemade soap. It's this big, it's that thick, and it's 200 dinars. And there's no perfumes, there's no glycerol, there's no extra anything. And all the soap at the store, just, my skin hates it. This is like, it's real, it's pure, and it's the most affordable. I have 2 boxes full of this soap because I'm afraid that, one day it's gonna disappear. And the same with food. I came here to get healthy, and one of the most important ways to do that is to actually eat clean. At one point, I was going to like the store market, and they had these like smoked pork ribs and things like that, and I was buying them. And at some point, I realized that, oh, I can taste the chemicals in this now. And then I start looking at the label and saying, I can't eat this anymore. But now I just go to the butcher, and I've found my favorite butcher, and every time I get food there, it just tastes right. I have a friend, and his family lives in Zrenjanin. His girlfriend's family lives in Vrbas. So every year, now for 2 years, I actually pay for them to raise a pig, slaughter the pig. So I love that I get to support my friends' families, but also that I've never had meat that tasted that good in my life. I've never had anything that fresh or that clean, that healthy before. It's amazing.
What is your favorite Serbian food?
I would say čvarci is one of the best ones. It's very simple, but it's everything you need. You can eat it with your fingers. You don't need anything. You can add any seasoning you want. The other thing that I just really love food-wise is dairy. One of the first things that I saw when I was here was Univer Export. Just this entire gigantic aisle of yogurt and kefir and Greek yogurt and milk and just every version of cheese. They have done everything with milk that can be done from every animal. I think I had almost nothing but yogurt for, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks. It was like the only thing I wanted. It was like, okay, clearly my body needs whatever is inside of this. And I loved it. Actually, one of the things I really love is that there's a farmer not far from here who sells raw milk. I specifically go driving over to Begec just to buy milk from this guy, and it is the best thing ever.
What is your 3 best things in Serbia?
The 2 easy ones are the food and the culture. And when I say the culture, I really mean the zeitgeist, the people themselves. I like the attitude of Inat. I love the attitude of Brate. When I was living in Cambodia, we had Serbian friends there. So there was this one bar restaurant that we did a lot of business with, and all of the staff were Serbian guys. And it was really refreshing talking to them. Like if you say something funny, they laugh. And if you say something stupid, they tell you it's stupid. While living in Asia, and really while living in America, you don't get that. Like people are very reserved and they just say whatever they need to make things smoother and not cause trouble. So I really appreciated and respected that attitude. And the other thing that sounds kind of weird, and everyone will say I'm insane, freedom. Nobody messes with me. I have to pay the tax man, and I pay all of my fees every month to stay in this country. The police don't mess with me. The government doesn't randomly add extra stuff to me. No one at any market anywhere is trying to rip me off. I mean, I know there's like bad taxi drivers at the airport or whatever, but I'm smart enough to know to just not mess with them. I'm not trying to come to Serbia to be a Serbian. I love the country, I love the people, I will learn the language, but I know that I just will never be a Serbian in my heart and soul. That's okay. No one gives me a problem for not being a Serbian, for not doing things the Serbian way. I have a weird life where I rent a giant house and my gym is in my local. I have locals, I have a music studio next to this one. Nobody does this. It is the weirdest life and no one understands it, but it's everything that I want in life. Like if I could write down on paper all the things that I want out of life, I've got most of them right now. The freedom to just go live as I want to live is deeply refreshing.
You mentioned this word inat attitude.
Yeah.
How would you explain this word to a foreigner?
Stubbornness might be a direct translation, but it is the attitude of screw you, no. Inat, in my opinion, is the reason why Serbians still protest. I've seen the garbage collectors protest. I've seen the lawyers protest, the teachers protest. And obviously right now we have the massive student protests. People in my country don't do that anymore. We are dispirited. We're sick and tired, too much so. We're also like so spread out. Like America is too big that people can't gather in one spot. I don't know how much impact that has on things really, but the fact that people are so willing to be moved to such great power, to such great effect that they're willing to do something about it is another one of those things that I love the most about the spirit of the people of this country.
Now, what's the worst thing for you in Serbia?
Import fees. Getting something from out of this country into it is devastating. The time, the paperwork, the expense of it. Because I don't do things the normal way, there does end up being a lot of things that I want to import. It might be one big purchase, or it might be a whole bunch of little things. I mean, AliExpress is very nice, but for, you know, bigger things like that, when you need to get something from America or Germany, that's rough. There is a certain amount of, I forget how to say it in Serbian, but one missing paper.
I forget it too.
Yeah, the bureaucracy of
yeah.
that is frustrating. And I've just kind of given up, and I have one of the best lawyers in Novi Sad, and I pay him every month so that I don't have to deal with it. And again, it is worth every dinar.
When you came to Serbia, what was your first impressions?
Nikola Tesla Airport. My friends picked me up, drove me to Novi Sad. We dropped our bags off in the Airbnb that we were renting. And it was evening. They took me on a walk through the park and into the walking district here. And they said, okay, here is Serbia. Here is Novi Sad.
Welcome to Serbia.
Yeah, really. And the first thing that I really noticed was, well, A, walking through the park, it's beautiful. It's well kept. They have these cool statues. Everybody's having a good time. The walking district, I just have to notice the architecture. It's very European. And having grown up in America and then just never being in this continent, I really understand why Americans have this view of Europe that they do. There really is something about this historical style. It's not what we have back home. And then they said, listen, Serbians love ice cream. We're gonna get you some ice cream. And so we got a cone of ice cream. I got to taste the plasma ice cream because that is like their national treat. And it was just a really great experience. So like my initial impressions are, it's just a positive place. Like the other thing that I noticed is Novi Sad is the second largest city, but it's not too big. It's like, to me, it's a very comfortable size. And so like people run into each other all the time. And as soon as they do, it's, oh, hey, how you doing? Hugs and, you know, let's catch up. So again, the culture is just everything I was looking for.
Any cultural shocks?
The biggest shock for me culture-wise is the pace of things. Because Americans, we just have to go fast, go hard. Everything needs to be done right now. Our culture is very focused on customer service. And so the workers do what they can to accommodate the customer. And here people they don't care. You know, it's...
But they don't care, you know, in a positive way, not in a negative way. So
yeah, it's really funny because everyone in Belgrade, in Novi Sad, everywhere else, they all agree that Novi Sad is a slow place. It was uncomfortably slow at the beginning. It's hard to get things done. I'm used to, you know, 24-hour stores. I'm used to people do stuff on, like the weekend and the weekday doesn't really matter anymore. And here, people take their free time really seriously. They take their lunch breaks very seriously. Initially, it has been very frustrating. Now I understand it. There's a lot of good reasons why. Sometimes I just look at it purely economically in that there's not a big window of salary. So it's like no matter what you do, no matter what industry you're in, this is how much money you can make. And so it's like, why am I trying that hard? If this job isn't any good, I'll just go get the next one. But I think that it's beyond that too. It's I'm nobody's slave. And, you know, life is meant to be lived. I think that attitude makes up for whatever frustrations I have. And the other half of that is I just learn how to work around certain things. I plan my day knowing that, on a Sunday, things might not be open. On a Saturday, they're going to close at 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock instead of 8 or 10. And it's fine. It's just how life needs to be. And I still think it's for the better. I'm a lot more relaxed now than I ever was in the past. So that's a good sign.
You're riding a car here.
Yeah.
I wonder, what do you think about driving style of Serbs?
You have to have very good brakes on your car. Everyone is in a rush all the time for no reason. So
it's completely anti-Polako on the road.
That's
what a
very
strange
true.
paradox.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, they go all the way up to the light and then bam, hit the brakes. And then as soon as the light turns green, they want to, like they're drag racing. And then when it's raining, it's even worse. And when it's snowing, it's worse than that. They act like they're the witch from The Wizard of Oz and the rain's going to make their car melt. And so they have to get off the road faster. And it's like, no, that's how you get more crashes. I ride my bike most of the time. I get to avoid parking. It's just more convenient for me. I see so many parts of cars on the side of the road almost every time I go out. That's definitely an example of some things are just different, but they're not better or worse. This is explicitly worse.
Do you think the world and the Western world particularly has any misconceptions about Serbia?
Yes. There's definitely the notion that it's all just like slums and gangsters, which is annoying, but the one positive benefit is that I feel like this country is a hidden gem and I don't want too many people to know about it because it's just, as the world discovers that, no, this place is actually quite great.
What do you think, no things here? What foreigners shouldn't do by any means here in Serbia?
Don't put your hands on people. I've heard that 100 times. You can say whatever you want, but don't touch me. Is just having proper respect. I think the other thing that foreigners need to do is appreciate what this place is and not try to make it something else. And I think this is probably a lesson that I have had to learn. Part of it is my example of just learning to slow down or just learning to work around other people's schedules. Like, part of what makes this country great is all the things that makes it not America, that makes it not England, that makes it not Sweden. Even if you want everyone to be more like you, they're not going to, Inat. Screw you. And great, fantastic. I love it and I support it.
This is the problem with Russians which came here in 2022, because what I'm seeing now in Belgrade particularly, that they're trying to recreate their Moscow, their little Moscow.
Yeah.
They're opening cafes, restaurants with names from Moscow, toponyms.
And don't get me wrong, if I had significant amounts of resources, I probably would have tried to do the same thing while I was here. We have that in America. We have Chinatowns and we have, these little enclaves where people just stick with their culture where they came from. I don't technically have a problem with it as long as it's not taking away from where they are. But I have heard stories where Serbian people will get upset because a Russian is coming with their wealth and it's like, I'm going to open a salon. And it's like, well, a Serbian could have opened that salon, but that opportunity is now not there for them. I get philosophical and I think about these kinds of things a lot. And I always have personally conflicting mixed views about, I'm not a nationalist. I would love it if we were all one global people, but I understand the value of cultures. I understand the value of having a set of cultural beliefs in a location, and all those people are in that place together. I think there always needs to be room for accepting foreigners. I have to believe that because I'm a foreigner in Serbia, and I'm very thankful that they let me be here and let me be me. But I also understand where they come from, where the frustrated people come from. This is my gym. It is on the ground floor in the house where I am living. It's a multi-purpose space, both for exercising and for martial arts practice. So I've got our puzzle mats here on the ground just to be able to do our rolling, our tumbling, mild wrestling on it. It's not very wide, but it's enough space to get some good work in. This thing here is called the Boss. I also like to call it a Shiva because it's got all of the arms for your hitting. everything for the door, our rubber bands, our handles here. So it's enough to be able to get a pretty full-bodied workout. It was only in the martial arts school where I first learned dobro and može. That was the first like 2 words I really learned here, and they're still 2 of the most important ones to me.
Why you decided to leave America?
The short answer is that I was paying attention to the trends. Like, you know, if you want to look anywhere in time from the 70s onward, economic inequality is getting worse, inflation is getting worse. Just if you didn't know which political party was in power and you only looked at the statistics of the country, you could never know which party was in power because it just keeps getting worse every year. And it was really hard even for me to sort of get started in this world because everything either seemed like a scam or it seemed like you had to already be somebody's friend to get successful in almost any way. You know, there are people that retire in a foreign country where the cost of living is lower and the dollar goes further. Knowing that I can speak English and I have an education background, it made sense that I could go just about anywhere and live a better life.
Have your views on America somehow changed since you moved to Serbia?
I would say that the only thing that I can say has changed with my views in America is there was a time when I really thought that the country was bad. I kind of hated my homeland. And now I realize that that's not true. Our Constitution is a good document. Our Bill of Rights is an excellent document. We have our saying, a government by the people, of the people, and for the people. But our government is not of the people anymore because we have a political class. We have dynastic families. And so they are not real people doing real work in reality. They are the professional managerial class. So I understand that what should be no longer is. That is not America's fault, but it is America's problem that people need to deal with and they need to correct. I've been away since the end of 2016, so, you know, call it 8 years. And as soon as I moved, everyone would always ask, Kevin, when are you going back to America? And I said, I'm not planning to. It's just like, well, like either never or, you know, there might be a civil war, and if a civil war happens, I'll go back to America after it's over. So until then, I just don't have any plans.
You left America because of these concerns of civil war or something like that?
I believe that it's just going to keep getting worse there. And frankly, if you look at the last 8 years, it's gotten vastly worse since then. And I'm just talking about the health of the people, economic viability of life. Houses are impossibly expensive. Eggs are like 90 cents per egg in certain places now. When I was a kid, eggs and toilet paper were so cheap, we threw them at our neighbors for fun. Now they're, you know, on the level of silver and gold. People are selling individual eggs in America right now. So I'm pretty good at tracking patterns, but also this is the kind of stuff that I'm obsessed with. Like I spend my free time watching international news through a lot of different channels to see what's going on and to try to make sense of it. Even back when I was a teenager, I could see that nothing was getting better, no matter who said that they would make it better. So it's just, let's get out of here before it becomes impossible to get out of here. And that's really what it was.
What do you think America could learn from Serbia?
I think a lot of what America needs to learn can be fixed with economic reform, with health reform, with, you know, some of these things that we take for granted in this country. But I think that my neighbor and I should be a community. We should make sure to say, no, I'm gonna go and have coffee, and that's gonna be an hour or two, and that's fine.
Or maybe a day.
Yeah, exactly. And to say that, you know, sometimes enough is enough and you gotta make your voice heard. And I would say that the common, and when the people in your neighborhood are your community, it's a lot easier to make that happen.
Do you plan to stay here for a while, or do you plan to stay here for a year or two and maybe move to another country, try living there?
I really don't see any reason to leave the country, and I don't see any country that's better to live in. You know, maybe if I had €1,000,000, which I don't, but honestly, if I had €1,000,000, I could live such a great life here that I still don't think I would go somewhere else. And since I like the people and the food here, it's like, what am I really getting by going anywhere else? I definitely could imagine in the future getting to the point where, well, I've been here for 10 years, I should try to get my Serbian passport. If I'm here for 5 years total, I'm probably gonna be here for 10 years. And if I'm here for 10 years, I'm gonna try to just get my citizenship. I would love to. Again, if I'm here for 10 years, I might just rather be a Serbian at this point. I know I just said earlier, oh, I'm never gonna be a Serbian, but who knows, maybe one day I will be.
You know that Serbia don't recognize dual citizenship.
Oh, I did
So
not know
you
that.
should renounce your American citizenship to get, or marry Serbian wife.
I will probably just renounce my citizenship. It's probably safer.